Okay, this is Joe Watts. I'd like to welcome you to the evening as we talk about alumni from Enterprise Academy and Great Plains Academy. And I'm so happy that we have some special guests tonight, and that is Doug and Wilma Bing. And they're the class of 80. And besides being in the class of 80, they're going to be our speakers for our virtual alumni weekend, which was coming up really, really quick, April 9 and 10. And so you don't want to miss that. It will be on our YouTube channel. It'll be on Facebook. And so there's a couple ways you can get it. Uh, so we're glad you're here. Doug and Wilma, thank you for joining us. We're thankful that you're here.
We're glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation, and hello to all of the alumni, that especially our classmates and the ones we were there for when we were teaching too. That's great.
Yeah, you got a lot of people. Well, of course, and you grew up there, so you know a wide spectrum of kids. They may not know you so well, but a lot of them, you know, a lot of them, and
That's
some
right.
older kids. They're not, those older people, and so anyway, you both were 4-year students, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
4 years. Wow, that's an accomplishment, isn't it? And so we talk about work and your work on campus. Can you share with us what that was? Oh, before we do that, let's talk about where you were then and where you are now. And we know, Doug, that you're the president of the Washington Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, and Wilma has just accepted a position with the Washington Conference as associate in the education department, which she's been the pastor, associate pastor of the Auburn Academy Church. So we're really proud of you both and what you've done. But how did you get there? Fill us in.
Sure. Well, it is always amazing when you look back and see how God led in each little twist and turn of your life. And Wilma and I, when we graduated from Enterprise, we both ended up at Union College, and I took a degree in business and in theology there. And from there, we went to work for the Kansas-Nebraska Conference. They picked us up. It was great that our home conference could do that, took a chance on us, and we were really grateful for that. But they actually sent us directly to the seminary when they picked us up. And from there, after seminary was over, we came back and were pastoring for a short period of time in Omaha, Nebraska at the Memorial Church. Made some good friends there. And, every time you start pastoring a place, you're always grateful for those who are very forgiving when you make your first mistakes as a young pastor. But then we went from there back to Enterprise Academy and started teaching Bible and serving there at the pastor of the church there for a number of years, and from there to Wichita. And in the process of that, somebody found out, somebody knew us from they knew that they were looking for a ministerial director in the Washington Conference, and somebody from the Mid-America Union, and gave our name out here to that. And we interviewed for that and started out as ministerial director. Went from there to become executive secretary, or what they call it, vice president for administration, for about 15 years. And then 4 years, just about 4 years now that we've served as the president here of the Washington Conference. So that's the short version. I could, each little twist and turn has a great story, but that's the shortened version of it. And then Wilma has her own story as well.
You bet. Share with us, Wilma.
Well, same locations as him, but
a different story, same location.
Yeah. But I taught at different locations. We had our children while we were there in Kansas, Nebraska area. And then when we came out here to Washington, I started volunteering at the Academy Church and just fell in love with ministry. And after a couple years, they hired me on full time and worked there for almost 17 years. And then just recently this month, starting a new chapter and working for the education department, supporting teachers.
That's great. Now, what I want to know is, when along this sequence did y'all get married?
Well, we got married in 1983, actually before we finished Union College, and got married in 1983 and went directly from a month after we were married, we actually went as student missionaries together and served in Indonesia as Bible teachers and English teachers. English is a second language, and Wilma will tell you that that was not a honeymoon. So
That's not her idea. Well, you took her to exotic places. I mean, what can you say, right? Exactly. Wow,
exactly.
you did good. So anyway, talk about your work experience at the time when you were at Academy. We talked about your work experience following. What did you do there?
For me, I started out working for my dad in the maintenance department. Worked for him for a year, actually just a little less than a year, and then they were actually doing an addition onto the cafeteria that year, and the man who had the contract for that was Jim Moore, and he hired me to work with him, and we worked on that building together. Then I continued working when that building was done. Continued working with him until he moved out of the area, and then I went to work for Midco Plastics, and from Midco Plastics I went to work for in the community for a wholesale florist in Abilene, driving truck to Western Kansas about 3 or 4 times a week, delivering flowers to retail florists all along the way, and I felt like I was on King of the World, driving a little tiny truck all the Western Kansas. Every 2 or 3 days there. It was a lot of fun.
You were a trucker, man.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Wilma?
Yeah, I started thinking about that. I turned 14 the week school started. So I'm not sure why anyone even hired me, but I worked in the dorm, worked my way up and was an RA, and had some great deans that I worked with. Miss Thierry, one of my favorites. And then I also did reading and grading for Jet Turner in the history and Bible area. So
Okay. And so then, what was your favorite classes? Did you like any classes, or did you not like school?
I like school.
Okay.
I
You were
remember. Yeah,
spoken
I
like a
love.
teacher.
It's the right answer, but I actually really do enjoy school. I loved some of the home ec classes, and I still make the cinnamon rolls from the same recipe that I learned back in high school. Still sewing and all those things I still use, so I appreciate those. But one of my favorite memories is the typing class, because when we started, we had the manuals, and there's just something satisfying about clicking on those keys as hard as you can and then hitting the lever and flipping it back and going again. And we would get like a 2-week time period where we could use the electric typewriter, and that was just a big treat. So I love telling my kids this story because they're like, wow, dark ages, Mom, dark ages.
That's for
I think
sure.
my favorite classes, I've always liked history, and so I still read a lot of history books, and I did enjoy history class. But to be really honest, I enjoyed most of my time outside of class. I tell a lot of people, I told my kids that I actually didn't start studying until I got to Union College, and then I decided I'd better wake up and pay attention. But so I think I enjoyed more time away from class than in class. But when I was in class, it was probably history classes or stuff like that.
Okay, that's fair enough. So anyway, as you talk about that, then your favorite teacher, might be the history teacher. Is
Yeah,
that logical?
I really enjoyed Jet Turner. He was a great instructor. Of course, Mr. Crandall, the music teacher, was another one that was a lot of fun to be around and hang out with as well.
Share about going on tour, what that meant to you and what it was like. And
That was a really highlight. I mean, you know when you get to go out to different churches, I mean, both of us were in choir for all 4 years, and Mr. Crandall and Handel's Messiah still means a lot. When I still listen to recordings of Handel Messiah. We have one of our churches in this conference that has a great music program, and they bring in people to do the Handel's Messiah, and so that was just a really good experience. And then Reflectors, we were in the Reflectors of God's Love singing group. traveling all over the place. And you don't really realize until, when you're a kid, you're just enjoying the tour, you enjoy the trip, you enjoy those kinds of things. But I remember a lady that came to me, and I've thought about her often. I don't remember which church it was at, but she came up after the Messiah one time, and just had tears in her eyes, and was just so grateful for the music, and it had just moved her soul. And I remember thinking as a kid, and like I said, I can still see her face just telling the story. That it's like, wow, that's really, it did make an impact. It wasn't just us out recruiting for Enterprise Academy or all the public relations. It was making an impact in people's lives.
The Lord touched her through the music that you were singing, and that's always a fun thing. Did you any churches that you like going to, especially, or would get you in trouble, I guess, if we mention too many?
Well, there's two churches I remember a lot, just because of, I remember the big churches, the Wichitas and the New Havens and the Chapel Oaks, of course. But I remember La Crosse, Kansas and Sedan, Kansas. For some reason, they really great people there, and they had great potlucks. They fed us well, and stuff. I'm sure the others did too, but I just remember those. And I remember some fun times at the Sedan church that, it's a family church with the Taylor family down there and a lot of others that were there. But, just some crazy things that happened there. And we were tired one day and singing away, and our sound man was sitting in the back trying to get us to laugh, taking his shoes and socks off and doing all sorts of, funny things back in the back. And it just, I still see the look on his face. He was trying to get us to cheer up because we were tired. I think it was our third conference concert or something like that. So
trying to get you going.
Yeah.
I think those were some of the best memories. Just the camaraderie it built, even when the bus broke down and you're sitting along the side of the road, or going to the different churches, and they would just open up their homes for us and let us stay overnight and just love up on us. Just some really great memories through that.
A lot of good people across the Kansas and Nebraska conference. I know that Nebraska would be the Platte Valley, but just some awful good people in there. That's,
yes.
Of course, where I grew up too, and I just think that Kansas and Nebraska people are just the best, and for sure. You met your life partner at Academy, I think, anyway. And can you share that, or is that off limits?
Well, like I've told people before, we have our different versions of what happened, but we met each other. We were both 14 years of age. We've known each other since we were 14, and I asked her out when she was 14 and I was 14. She accepted, and I was ready to go out and spend the whole day with her at In-Gathering Field Day. That's they take everybody out and go to all these little towns and knock on all the doors, and they don't do that much anymore. But so we were all ready to go, and then about a week later, after I'd asked her out, she called. I don't know if she called me or talked to me in person, but she broke the date, and I was so depressed I didn't date her until we were juniors then. So
couldn't get up your nerve to ask her again and be turned down.
Yeah.
I equate or give the thanks to the teachers of Auburn of the Enterprise Academy, because they made all of our classes, we sat in alphabetical order. And because I was Burton and he was Bing, we sat together in almost every class for 4 years that we took together. And so we just chatted a lot in those classes. And so I appreciate that. And that was really where I knew who he was, but I think it was like the first week of school, and we were in Mrs. Russell's English, which everyone remembers her word power classes and her
diagramming sentences.
Yes, man. She was quite a good English teacher. Is that the correct word?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. She makes me think about it. And then there was this young guy. You tell the rest of that.
Well, anyway, I would take and the one day, I think it was the first week of school, I took and tore little pieces of paper up and sprinkled them all through Wilma's blonde hair. She had really long blonde hair at the time, and she would flip her hair, and all of the little pieces of paper would end up on the floor. And Mrs. Russell, she didn't like her floor being dirty, and so she made Wilma. She called Wilma out in front of the whole class and said, "Wilma, you've got to stay behind and clean up around your desk." And she didn't even know she'd made a mess.
I was horrified.
And she was very embarrassed and very upset with me. And I did stay behind and help her clean it up, but maybe that's why she, didn't want to go out with me anymore. I don't know. So
Took till junior year for her to get over it.
yeah, that's right.
Anyway, what would you say would be your best experience at Enterprise Academy?
Well, there's so many.
Yeah, it's hard to pick.
It really are. I think that when I think about the faculty, and obviously I didn't get along with all of them, and I'm sure they had their times that they were wondering about me, as well. But they loved us. They were doing the best that they knew how, and doing a good job. But I also enjoyed Vespers. I just enjoyed Vespers. I enjoyed singing at Vespers. We were singing the other day with our kids. I don't know, a couple months ago or several months ago. I don't remember what it was, but the sun was going down, and Wilma and I just started singing "Day Is Dying in the West," kind of like what they used to do at Vespers, and those were good experiences. The rich traditions that you have that stick with you when you're maybe having a tough time later on in life. You can look back on some of those good traditions that were there.
Fantastic.
I think some of the fun memories, I remember snow days, and I remember being out in that field out by the gym, and someone pulling a truck with a hood of a car upside down or whatever, and taking us on rides out there in the snow, and just having some great times with some friends, and the dorm pranks and the things that we would get into each other there, just a lot of fun memories there.
And then you grow up and learn about Adventist risk management. And you go, what were they thinking with pulling us around on a hood of a car? But anyway, it was a great fun.
We lived in it.
That's true. That's so true. I couldn't agree with you more. And I've had to deal a lot with Adventist risk management, as I know you have. They would die to think of some of the things that we did. And anyway. Religious activities. Was an important part of the academy experience, intentionally. That's one of the reasons that parents were willing to spend the dollars to send their young people to academy. So, what of those did you enjoy? You talked about the Vespers. Was there anything else that stands out?
I think for me, I can't remember a specific class or someone specifically talking about it, but I do remember during that time being encouraged and starting to read the Bible for myself, and starting a devotional life. And I remember different phrases. I remember a week prayer, a guy getting up and he was telling his testimony, and he used the illustration that, if you're in the shower and you drop the soap, you're not going to get out of the shower just because you drop the soap. And his point is that just because we mess up and fail, we don't leave our relationship with Jesus. And just concepts like that really stuck in my head.
I think those are really valuable things. And I enjoyed probably getting, I was a village student, so I didn't get to do the dorm pranks or any of those kind of things. But I enjoyed the being on campus, being able to be there, hanging out with friends. And then I think the thing that there was also the service aspect. I remember one time, there was a tornado that came through, and we closed down the school, and we all went and helped pick up branches and stuff like that. And it made me realize that when the going gets tough, we have to stand up and help people, and not just, okay, we got to go learn our algebra and our math and and our English and stuff. We pause, we take a moment, and we go and help people that are in need. And that was a valuable thing. We did that a number of times throughout the years that we were there.
Yeah, that's an important part of it. Anything else you'd like to share about your time at Enterprise?
I would just because we went back and were involved at the academy as adults, as teachers, and he is the pastor there, and it just helped us realize how much the teachers did sacrifice for us and how much they believed in us and how important it was for them to, take a young kid and encourage us and say, hey, we believe you can do this and you're going to do great. So just that amount of pouring into us and the friendships that we had that also poured into us and helped us grow. I think my life would be different if I hadn't gone to Enterprise, and I am just so grateful for that experience.
Yeah.
And I would echo that, Joe, in that, every one of us, whoever we are, we stand on somebody else's shoulders. They've invested in us. And, the different people that have said, I remember people saying to me long before I ever thought about being a pastor, it was the furthest thing from my mind, hey, you have to think about this or do this. And they believed in us. And I've had a lot of associate pastors that have worked, and I've other pastors that I've worked with here in the Washington Conference, and I told our ministerial director and others around that, we have to be willing to totally invest in people, and if they go further in life than we ever do, then it's okay if they stand on our shoulders, because we're all standing on somebody else's shoulders. And that's really what I realized from them, because there were people invested in us, even when we may not have looked like we were investment worthy, but they certainly invested in us, and I'm grateful for the shoulders that I get to stand on as well.
Or even that we appreciated it,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
What was it
right.
like? What was it like going back there as the pastor? You made a little mention of it, but you grew up there, went to academy there, then you came back and was the pastor. I mean, that's really something.
Well, the postmaster, who was not a member of the congregation, of course, but I'd known him for many, many years and used to go in and see him all the time. I remember when I came back as pastor, he, along with a number of other people in the community as well as in the church, they still called me Dougie, and so and they were, I'm sure they were a little bit unsure about, Dougie coming back to be a pastor there. And I was unsure of it myself, to be honest with you. I mean, it was not something that you ever really think that, a place that you moved to in second grade and your parents still live there, that this was going to be an option for you. But once we got past the newness of it all, it was a great team. I remember, the elders we worked with, deacons, everybody on the team, the great socials we had there with them, working with the faculty and seeing their dedication. I loved it. Planning the religious activities. Wilma was a great help. I mean, she would open up our house every single Friday night for Afterglow, after Vespers, and there would be times we'd have 30 kids in almost every corner of our house. And you know what 30 kids does to a refrigerator? It empties it out instantly.
30
It's
hungry
gone.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter that they just ate at the cafeteria; the refrigerator just is gone.
That's
And
home.
but
That's home food.
Wilma was, yeah, exactly. But we had so much fun. They'd sit around and talk. We would let them sing and stay until the dorms were calling to tell them to come home. Come back to the dorms. But so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Those were some really fun years to be the pastor back there.
That's great. Wilma, do you have anything about when you were back there as a pastor's wife?
I think it does give you a different perspective and much more appreciation for those teachers that poured into our lives and that were there for us then. And just that ability to connect with the kids and to value them. And just recently talking to some of them that have grown up, and it's just really cool to had that experience.
Yeah, it is great to be at Academy. I can concur with that. Well, remind people that you're going to be our speakers for the virtual weekend that's coming up here real quick, April 9 and 10. And we're thankful that you're willing to do that and give of yourself to share with us. Again, that's being kind of the same thing we've been talking about. And so we appreciate you guys. Thank you for you, and thank you for your time, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. God bless you,
Good
Joe.
to be with you.
God bless you.